Hey, 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 what's up, fam bam? It's your girl Santina, and we are back with another story time video. So, I hope everybody is doing good on this wonderful Thursday afternoon. All is well. God is good. The sun is shining. It's cold here in the city of Detroit, but we are still blessed. So, today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about what it's like growing up in the foster care system. Now, a lot of people's situations are different, you know what I'm saying? Some people are very fortunate to find very good homes and, be raised by wonderful people who are actually in this adoption situation or even foster care situation to actually, parent children and give them a better life. Now, some people on the flip side, some children end up in foster homes where, the foster parents aren't that good. They're probably just in it for the money, or they have their own little sick, twisted kind of, personality or whatever causes them to be so wicked towards children. Some people have that going on, and some children are very unfortunate to end up in foster homes like that. And then we have, of course, some children who stay stuck going from group home to group home, foster home to foster home, until they eventually age out of the system. So there's all kinds of, you know, things or situations that can happen when you have been placed into the system for whatever reason you're not with your biological parents. So I just wanted to come and share my story. So I was born Santina Parker. Parker is my biological last name. And I was not with my mom for very long. What happened was I was born with glaucoma and cataracts. And my mom, she had her own struggles going on, and she was not really able to take care of me as far as getting me to my eye doctor appointments, getting me to the hospital when I needed to go. So they started just putting me into a foster home, just so that I can get back and forth to my doctor's appointments, you know. So hold on one second. All right, so sorry about that, guys. I had to go, make sure Michael knows that I'm in here talking to you guys so he doesn't get too loud on the game or whatever he's doing, because sometimes they can get a little excited or get a little loud, and I didn't want all that being picked up on the video, so excuse me. So as I was saying, my biological mother, she couldn't really afford to get me to my appointments, and they put me in a foster home just to make sure that I can get to my doctor's appointments, my eye doctor's appointments, as needed. So I guess while I was in that foster home, now the people that I was living with, they're white, and I'm going to explain why I have to say that. I'm going to explain that in a minute. So eventually I stayed there for a couple of years, and they were getting me to my eye doctor appointments. I do remember going to coming home from a surgery. I remember that. I don't know why. I don't remember a whole lot about this, because I think I was probably like 1 or 2 when I went into these people's home, because my mom didn't know right away that I could not see. From what she told me was, she started to notice that I would be fumbling around a lot. Like when I started to walk, she would notice that, I would run into things, or I would, trip over stuff, or, I'm feeling around more. And so that's when one of my family members said, hey, maybe Santina can't see. You probably need to get her checked out or whatever. So she did. And that is when they found out I had glaucoma. So I stayed with my mom, I think, for about a year, and then once they diagnosed me with glaucoma and cataracts, I had to go into a foster home just to reassure that I would be able to get to my eye doctor appointments and my surgeries as needed. So here I am in this foster home. I'm, doing okay. From what I can remember, the people were very nice. They took pretty good care of me. My brother, once he was born, he ended up there with me as well. I guess because, come to find out, they ended up taking the rest of my siblings also, because I guess she just could not keep up with taking care of all of us. So, and there's 7 of us in total. Um, 4 of us ended up, eventually being put together. At first, it was me and my brother in this home that I was in, and I believe he went there also because he had a handicap. He was born mentally impaired, and he had to go to doctor's appointments and things like that too. So this family was really taking care of us, as far as taking care of our needs. We went to school. I remember the only thing that the lady couldn't do was she didn't know how to do black children's hair. So sometimes, from what my mom told me, my mom would come over and do my hair and things like that for school. But of course, I don't really remember because I was little. But as you can probably tell from me saying my mom told me, yes, later on in life I did get back in contact with my mom. But we're gonna share that. So, I stayed with those people, I think, until I was like 4 or 5 years old. And it was a pretty good situation, but it was also, something bad was happening as well, because my foster parent, the dad, he was doing some molestation things to me. Like he molested me, not all the time, but he had me doing little things to him, and he was doing little things to me. Like, I remember that. That's the one thing that I wish I didn't remember, but I do. I remember that. And one day, I remember the courts coming, but other than that, the family was really nice. I had an older sister. They had a daughter who was older. I think she was like 16, and of course I was like 3, 4, you know what I'm saying? And she was a pretty good big sister. The mom was really good to me. Like, my life there was pretty good, except for what the foster dad was doing. And of course, I don't think his wife knew about it. I never told anybody. And one day, I remember they took me and my brother away, and it was so sad because I really wanted to stay there. We had a pretty good life, like I said, other than that one thing. But I remember my foster mom, she gave me these long dangly earrings, and for me being so little, they were huge to me, and she gave them to me and told me to keep them. She wanted me to keep them as a memory of her. And I remember them putting us in the car, and I was kicking and screaming and crying, and I didn't understand why they took us away until later on. And the reason why I had to say that these people were white people was because the reason why we got taken away was because they were white and we were black. And back in the 80s, because I was born in the 80s, they didn't really want to keep, people with, they didn't want us being black with the white family. They didn't feel like that they could really take care of us the way that a black family would. So they took us out of there and they put us in a black family. And the black family happened to be where 2 of my other siblings were. So now it's 4 of us together. And we stayed in that family, we stayed in that household for I think maybe a year or maybe a little over a year. And these people were pastors. They were really nice. We went to church every Sunday. We always had family gatherings. We played outside with all the neighborhood kids. We went to school. I remember my first day of school. I went to this school, and of course I was legally blind, which I still am. So I had to go to special schools for children who had handicaps. And I remember my first day being at the school. It's like they dropped me off, but I didn't have any clue where to go. And I was really shy. I was scared to ask for help. So I was just standing around in the building like, where do I go? What do I do? I remember how the lunchroom smelled because I was close to the lunchroom. I don't know. I just have some weird, odd memories. But some of the main things I don't really remember. But that family was decent. We got taken away from them because they were older. They were an older couple, and they couldn't adopt us. They actually wanted to adopt us, but they couldn't because we were all young kids and they were all older. So that didn't work for the courts. So they ended up putting our picture in the newspaper because I guess one of the things that my mom asked was that we would all be put together, placed together, because it was only 4 of us at the time. And I had another sibling. My mom had 5 children at this time, but one of my siblings was in another foster home, and then those people adopted that child, and my mom never got to see her again. To this day, we don't know where she is, or my mom told me her name and everything, but we have no idea. She got adopted by someone else, possibly before we even got adopted. So there was no way for them to place her with us because she had already gotten adopted by another family. So now they have our picture in the paper, and next thing you know, we're going to this woman's house. And this is when my last name changed to Bowman because we got adopted by this lady. And I remember we would go on visits to her house. We would go and stay for one night. Then the next week we would go stay for 2 nights. Then the next week we would go stay for 3 nights. And then eventually it was indefinite. Like, we moved in. She was really nice at this time. Like, we actually was comfortable going to live with her by the time it was time for us to live with her. So at this point, this was like, we're adopted. This is our family now. No more foster homes. This woman, she had 2 goddaughters. They were twins. They would come and spend the weekends with us. So we would have someone to play with. And everything was fine in the beginning. But then next thing you know, all hell broke loose. So this woman ended up being the worst thing that has ever happened to me as a child. Now, I can't speak for my siblings. I don't really want to put their business out. This is just my story. But you can imagine, if I'm telling you what I went through, you can imagine that they went through the same things. So this woman, she started to be very abusive, like physically, mentally, emotionally, all of that. Just terrible. I don't know what happened to that nice, sweet woman that we met when we first moved in, but I lived with this woman for 9 years, having to deal with abuse. And like I said, there was 4 of us there, and she was the only one that was willing to take all 4 of us. And then she got some good money. She got some extra money for me and my brother being handicapped. And then I had my other 2 siblings that was there with us. So we went through a lot. We went through a whole lot in the hands of this woman. And caseworkers would come by, and I would be afraid to say something. My older sister, she wasn't afraid. Like, she didn't go through as much as we did physically because she was a little older than us. But she would always tell. Anytime we would go see the social worker that we would go see every Wednesday or whatever it was, and then sometimes someone would come to the house, my sister would always try to tell them what was happening. But when it came down to the younger ones, we wouldn't speak up, and because we were afraid. I know I was afraid. I was afraid that if I told on this woman, they wouldn't believe me, or something would happen and I would still end up in the house with this woman, and then she would beat us even worse because we told on her. Like, this is what was going on in my mind. We got adopted when I was 6. I was 6 at the time. And it was just a lot. It was a lot because I had to deal with her abuse at home and then going to school being legally blind, wearing all these different glasses with telescopes on them, and walking around with a cane, the cane that blind people use. And kids made fun of me. So I had to deal with being mistreated at school, and I had to deal with being mistreated at home. And then to make matters worse, when I was in elementary school, I had this teacher named Miss Martin. I'll never forget Judy Martin. Yes, that's her name. I'm calling you out, Judy Martin. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. This woman, she took advantage of the fact that I was being abused at home. I don't know what it was, that she liked it, or I don't know. But she was like, she would always, if she could find a reason to get you in trouble, she's going to do it. Like, I remember one day I was sitting at the lunch table, and I probably was playing with my chocolate milk, because I used to get chocolate milk with every lunch. And I'm not sure if I probably was, I'm not even gonna lie, I probably was playing with my chocolate milk, because we would blow bubbles in our milk with our straw and do little stuff. And somehow I accidentally spilled milk on my clothes. So she calls my foster mom and tells her that I poured milk down my shirt. I literally poured the milk, and this woman believed it. She believed it because, hey, she had a reason to beat me. So any reason is good enough. Now, this woman did not say, Santina, I'm going to call your mom and tell her that you were, pouring milk on your clothes, playing in your milk and pouring it down your shirt. She didn't tell me that. I had no idea. When I got home, I had no idea that I was going to be in trouble. I'm sitting down eating dinner. Next thing you know, the phone rings, and it's my teacher calling to tell my foster mom that I poured milk down my clothes. So I get a whooping for that. I don't get to explain myself. I don't get to tell her what I was doing, nothing. Then next thing you know, there was another time, I don't even know what I got in trouble for this day. My foster mom came into the room. She grabbed me up and whooped me in front of the whole class. Then took me to some lady's house. I had no idea who this lady was, but she had so much compassion for me. Because when my foster mom left and I was crying and crying and crying, that lady was just holding me and hugging me and telling me it's going to be okay. And I, to this day, don't know what I did. Nobody explained to me what I did to deserve the embarrassment that I received that day. It's like... And then by me being legally blind, we had all these different organizations and things that we were a part of because of me being legally blind. This woman took advantage of these things just to get attention. So we were a part of like the National Federation of the Blind. I went to different camps for blind children, visually impaired and blind children. And when I would go to camp, that was like my getaway from home. So while people are at camp crying and being homesick and wanting their mom and stuff like that, I'm like, what's wrong with these kids? I do not want to go home. When it was time to go home, I was the one crying because I didn't want to go home. So man, like, it was crazy the stuff that I had to endure. And when I had a time where I could get away from it, I loved it and I cherished it, and I embraced being around other people who showed me love, who would care for me. And I embraced that whenever I was away. And then when I had to go home, it was like I would be secretly crying in the car because I didn't want to have to go back home to this woman. At camp, I was able to be a kid. I didn't have to worry about getting in trouble. I was not bad. I was not a bad child. None of us were bad children. We just ended up in a bad situation with the wrong person. I never got in trouble at camp. All my counselors loved me. All the children loved me. And of course, I could sing ever since I could talk. Ever since I could remember, I was a songbird. And when I would go to camp, they would always want me to sing at the talent shows. I would sing at dinners. I had this camp called the Lions Camp that I used to go to when I was little. And they would have, during the year, they would have meetings. Lions, with the, with the whole organization. They would get together and have meetings and have a dinner and things like that, fundraisers and all of that. And of course we would go, and then they would always want me to get up and sing, and I really enjoyed that. So even though my life was really not all that great as a child, I still had moments. I had good, memorable moments, and God was always there with me, and He took such good care of me and my siblings. As you can see, we made it out. We're good. All of us, you know what I'm saying? We're living our lives, doing what we love to do. And I'm married now. I got a 19-year-old son. He doesn't have any stories about being abused physically, sexually, none of that. Like, he's had a good life. He has just about anything he could ask for. Like, I made sure that my son didn't have to go through what I went through, and that's the way that I learned. Some people, when they go through terrible situations, they carry it over into the next generation because that's what they know. But me, my mindset was, I would never do this to my kids. I would never treat my kids like this. I'm going to always do this for my kids. Like, even as a child, I'm taking mental notes on what not to do. And that pretty much was God. That was God teaching me, because I could have, become the monster that was raising me, but I didn't. And my siblings didn't either. We're all good parents. We all have our kids. None of our children are lost in the system. We've all taken good care of our kids. They have good lives. Most of them are grown now. And, all is well. So that's the great thing that I have that came out of all the stuff that I went through. But I lived with this woman until I was 15 years old, from age 6 to 15. And the sad part about it is, two of my siblings, my two older siblings that was with us, they were like protectors of us. Like, we got on their nerves, of course, but nobody could mess with us. Nobody could hit us, hurt us, except of course our foster mom. We couldn't really stand up against her. And this woman was big. She was like 300-400 pounds. This woman was huge, like completely obese. And her and my two older siblings got into it one day, and they decided to fight back. They got tired of what she was doing, and they were hoping that they would take all of us with them, but they didn't. They could only take the two that were involved in the incident. And as much as my siblings begged and pleaded, oh, please, we can't leave our sister and our brother here, we can't, but they would not allow them to bring us with them. So me and my younger brother, which we're the two handicapped ones, we got stuck there. And I know that just tore my older siblings up. Like, that was horrible. My two sisters, I know that was terrible. I bet you they cried for days, because they did not mean to leave us. They just got tired of her putting her hands on us, and they decided to fight back. And they got taken out of the house, but me and my brother, we were still left there. And so this was like 4 years into our stay with her. So me and my brother still had 5 years with this woman. And she had a son, an older son, that she did not tell the agency about. She didn't tell them that she had an older son. But she had an older son that was in his 20s. She hid that from them, who lived with her. And then on top of that, this man is a homosexual. So he was trying to do little things to my brother. And, we protected my brother as much as we could. But I don't know what all he could have endured or what could have happened with him, because we were not always together. Sometimes I would be off at camp, he's at home. Sometimes he's off at camp, I'm at home. So it's like, I don't really know. And my brother, he was not really in a position to be able to tell what was happening or if anything was happening. So I don't know all what he endured in that situation, other than the same abuse that we endured from, from both of them. They both were doing things to us. There was one time where this man, her son, beat me on my legs with a belt, and I had welts all over my legs. When I went and told my foster mom about it, she beat me again because she said I took marker and drew the stuff all over my legs and lied on her son. And I'm like, what the heck? You know that was not marker. I'll never forget that moment. Like, I got a whooping for telling on him, but he did do what he did to me. And there's so many other incidents that we've been through just living in that house. Like, if we got in trouble, she would make us stand in the corner, and I mean like all night. And then if she wakes up in the middle of the night, she'll tell us to go to bed. This could be like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. Go to bed. And then she'll get us back up at 7-8 o'clock in the morning to get back in the corner, and we'll stand in the corner all day again. And that was torture, because we're standing there facing the wall for hours. Sometimes to the point where we get nauseous and have to throw up. Like, this woman would have us just, it was awful. And the only way we could get out the corner is to go eat or go use the bathroom whenever she would allow us to. So it was awful. It was a terrible situation. I would not wish it on anyone. Then one day I was in high school. I'm fast forwarding to high school, because if I sat here and told you every incident, I would be talking for hours, and I'm not trying to do that. I'm just giving you an example of some of the things that I went through in the hands of this woman and her son. So now, of course, it's me and my brother there. That's it. I'm in high school now, and I met a friend. And of course, I'm in the classroom for handicap. I took regular classes, you know what I'm saying? But we just have a special room for me to go to if I need help with seeing something, or if something's too small, they have a machine there that can make it bigger and all of that. That's what that room was for. But I took regular classes like everyone else. So I have a friend who was handicapped. She was not blind, she was paralyzed, and she was my best friend at the time. And she's like my sister now. We still communicate every once in a while. And I still to this day thank her for her help, because I told her my story, and I was still going through it while I was friends with her. And I would tell her, what happened when I went home yesterday, and whatever. I confided in her with everything. And she just got so angry, she decided to call CPS herself, because she knew I would have told her not to do it. So she, did it behind my back. But I really wasn't angry with her at all, because I know we needed help. So one day I came to school, CPS was there, and they told me that they got a call, and immediately I knew who it was, because there was only one person I was talking to about this. I wasn't talking to everybody about it. So I had to tell them everything that was going on, because I wasn't going to back out of it after this girl went on a limb for me. You know what I'm saying? I felt this was my way out, but I was still afraid. But I told them, and then they told me that they had already sent someone to the woman's job to talk to her and get her side and everything. And, remember when I said I was little, I was afraid to tell, because I felt like I was still going to have to go back home with this woman, and she was going to beat me or worse or whatever. I was afraid. Do you know I still did have to go back? My worst fear happened. I had to go back home to this woman's house for a week, because they didn't have anywhere to put us right away. So me and my brother had to go back home, but surprisingly, she was being very nice. Like, she was nice to us. She didn't yell at us for telling on her. She didn't threaten us. She didn't, none of that. And I forgot to say, one thing that I noticed about her was, if you acted like you were going to fight her back, that kind of scared her. And I don't know if it's because of what my sisters did to her when they got into their altercation. But when I think I was like 14 going on 15, and she had her, I don't remember what it was, but she had her finger in my, digging into my forehead, saying something to me, and no, it was in my face at this time. And I said, you better get your hand out my face. This is when I started, getting a little strength. Like, I'm tired of you. You better get your hand out of my face. You better get your finger out of my face. And I don't know if she had a flashback of what my sisters did or what the case was, but she got her finger out my face, and she didn't put her hands on me again after that. I think because she saw that I was getting ready to start standing up for myself, and she didn't want what happened the last time to happen again. So when I was all helpless and afraid, she could do what she wanted to do. But when I stepped up, like, you better get your finger out my face. I don't care what you talking about. You better get your finger out of my face. When she seen I was standing up for myself, she backed down. So yeah, we ended up having to stay at her house for a week. We packed up our clothes. She was being very nice to us. And I remember thinking, like, I wonder what the heck did they tell her? Did they threaten her? What did they do? So we packed up all of our stuff. I had my book bag on the last day when we were getting ready to leave. I had all my stuff in the book bag, and I took it with me. But before we got out of the car, she checked our stuff and took all of our personal items out and was like, you can't take this, you can't take that. So she didn't allow me to take anything with me. And then we ended up in a group home. I was in the girls' home. My brother was in the boys' home. And when we were waiting for her to send our clothes. Now, when we got our clothes, it was just nothing but junk in there. Like, it wasn't really anything that we could use or keep, which I wasn't surprised. I mean, come on, she wouldn't even let us take anything. So, of course, she's not going to send no good clothes, no decent clothes for us to wear. It was just a bunch of junk. So, we stayed there for a little while. Then we were in daycare a lot when we were living with my foster mom. We were in daycare because by us being handicapped, we weren't really supposed to be home by ourselves. So we were in daycare, and I remember there was this bus driver there, and she was really cool and everything. When she found out that we had got taken away, from our foster mom, she takes foster kids in too. And she had just started her own daycare at her house. So what she did was she got us out of there so that we didn't have to stay in the group homes and stay separated. And she allowed us to stay with her. Now, of course, she got paid and everything. And she wasn't the best foster mom herself, but I didn't have to worry about being abused. By this time, I'm 15. So I'm old enough to stand up and say what I need to say and let her know what she's not going to do and all of that stuff. She had some foster kids too, and they were younger. But, she already knew I had enough knowledge and everything to know how to say if she did anything wrong. So she was pretty okay. And we already knew her, so it wasn't like, she was a complete and total stranger. We knew her and it was okay. But we weren't there for a long time. She just allowed us to stay with her until they could find us a place. So we went from there to a group home. Now, this is a group home. Of course, me and my brother weren't together then either, because they had a house for the boys and a house for the girls. And so we lived in separate houses, but we saw each other every day. We stayed there for like 9 months. And the longest you're supposed to stay there is for 6 months. But I ended up getting someone who wanted me as a foster child, but they didn't want my brother, which is odd because normally they want the younger ones and not the older ones. So, but I didn't take the foster home because I was not leaving my brother. I didn't even meet the people. I didn't care. I didn't care who they were. I didn't care how much money they had. It could have been the president of the United States for all I cared. I wasn't leaving my brother. I didn't even take the chance to look and see who these people were. I did not care. If me and my brother had to live on the street, it would have been me and my brother. I wouldn't have taken a house, another family over leaving my brother. No. So we stayed there. And my caseworker, she completely understood. She understood exactly where I was coming from. And she actually commended me for not wanting to leave my brother. But she also let me know it's going to be hard to find a place for both of us. So like I said, we stayed there for 9 months. It was okay. We had our ups and downs there, but it wasn't worse than where we came from. We ended up in another foster home in another city. Now with this woman, I stayed there, I think, for like a year and a half. When I got there, I was 16. And so I stayed there with her. She was okay. She had her own issues. I didn't have to deal with physical abuse. She really wanted a daughter, but she still has some issues, like some mind issues. She liked to drink, and when she gets drunk, she's your best friend. When she's sober the next day, hangover day, she's evil, wicked. Like, you have to walk on eggshells because she will cuss you out. She's like the kind of person that will go to the church, and if she gets mad, she'll cuss everybody out in the church. Like, she's one of them crazy kind of people. And man, so it was rough living with her. We had our good times and everything, but I didn't really like the living situation being with her. It was better than, some of the other places that I was, but I stayed there mostly for my brother. And then I found I made a good friend in high school, at school there in that city. And, this is back in my little days before I got saved and everything. So I used to cuss. I used to cuss like a sailor. And my friend was like, Santina, why you cussing like that? Don't you know you too pretty to be cussing like that? And for some reason that hit me, and I started paying attention to the way that I talk, and I'm like, yeah, I do cuss a lot. I don't know why. It's not cute. And eventually I stopped cussing, not completely, but for the most part. And me and this friend, I ended up going to her house a lot to hang out with her and her family. Her family took in foster kids. Her dad was a pastor. Her mom's like an evangelist. And, I loved hanging out with their family because they were like very family oriented people. Like, they have an RV and they'll go out and look at Christmas lights, and they'll go out to the to like the campgrounds. You know how they have campgrounds where you can take your RV or take your camper, and then you can, camp out there. They used to do that. They would invite me if they go out somewhere and go to a hotel to spend the night. They would invite me. Like, I truly enjoyed being around them. And one day I just asked, if I could live with them, and they said yes. Like, I was so happy because at this time I was 17, and they told me that I could actually leave my foster home if I want, because at 17 you're able to just be emancipated out of foster care. And so one day I was leaving out for school. Well, it was the night before I left. My foster mom was drinking. Of course, she was my best friend at that time because she was drunk. And I literally told her, I said, tomorrow I'm leaving. And she laughed it off. Of course, she thought I was playing, but I was dead serious. I wasn't even laughing when I told her this. Like, she did not believe me. And I'm like, okay. So the next day I had all my stuff. I had already packed it up the night before. I had it in the closet. And I took my things because I would leave out very early in the morning and she would still be in the bed. And but I don't remember how this happened, because sometimes she would get up and make me some breakfast and then go get back in the bed because she knew what time. One thing I could say, she made sure we ate. She made sure that we had 3 meals a day and they were good meals. So sometimes she would get up in the morning and make me some breakfast and then go get back in the bed. Like, she was a pretty good parent. But it's just outside of her doing her duties as a parent, it's like, man, she needed some help. So anyway, so here we are. I done packed up my clothes and I get up and I leave the house early because I have to be able. These people live down the street, like right down the street. You go down the street and turn the corner and there's their house. So I left out a little early because I needed to transport my clothes. Like, I had probably like 4 or 5 garbage bags full of my clothes and my belongings. And so I'm leaving out the door, in and out, taking bags down the street. She had no idea. And, at this time, I'm thinking I'm just down the street, so I should be able to still see my brother all the time because I'm not far. So I go down there, I stay with them. I go to school from their house, and then of course by the time I'm supposed to be home, I'm not there. So my foster mom's trying to figure out what's going on. She ended up calling the police. And the police found me at my new home where I decided to go, and they asked me, did I want to go back home? And I told them no. And they said, well, we can't make you because you're 17, but we still have to come check in on you just to make sure that you haven't been kidnapped, make sure nobody's forcing you to say you don't want to go back home. And once I convinced them that it was me who said I didn't want to go back home, it wasn't anybody forcing me, then they had to then go back to the foster mom and tell her she doesn't want to go back home and we can't make her. So now here I am, living with these people. Life is good. They got a lot of foster kids there, and then they have their own kids there, and I already knew these people. It was like I was living in a big family, and I liked it. I felt like I was a part of the family. They treated me like I've always been a daughter to them. I was one of my foster dad's favorite children. I didn't have to deal with any abuse. I didn't have to deal with nothing. Like, I got everything everybody else got, and probably a little more because I was one of my foster dad's favorites, but don't tell them that. So anyway, I'm living with them, and my caseworker would come and see me and talk with my foster parents just to make sure that I'm still okay, because I'm still under 18. And she set up to where I could have visitations with my brother, but of course they were supervised visits. So she would pick me up, pick my brother up, and take us to a park or whatever, and we would hang out. But next thing, and that happened for a few times, and then next thing you know, the foster mom said that I was causing my brother to act out. Like, I was telling him he doesn't have to listen to her, he doesn't have to do what she wants him to do, blah, blah, blah. And for some reason, the caseworker was backing this woman up. And I'm like, why? You know what I'm saying? I would never. For one, I'm not there to protect my brother. So why would I tell him to be disobedient to this woman? I can't do anything if she hits him. I can't do anything if she punishes him. Like, if I was there, then I would say, hey, you don't have to do nothing crazy that she tells you to do, because I will do this or I will do that if she does. But I'm not there. I'm not at the house to help him. So I wouldn't dare to. I never told this boy not to listen to his foster mom. Never did. But that was the foster mom's way of getting revenge on me because she was upset with me for leaving. So she got my visitations taken away from my brother. And shout out to my foster dad, because he's the one, he took me to all of my court dates. He was there helping me to fight for me to be able to see my brother. And it was just a sad time for me because they took all of my visitations away. And I don't even understand how that even ended up happening, knowing that we were all that we had. I don't know. I was 17 at the time. I didn't understand everything. So I lost my brother. I stayed with the foster family I was with. Of course, that was the last foster home that I was in. I stayed with them. Like, they're still my family to this day. And I'm 41, getting ready to be 42 this year. And, it just sucked, because even with the system, they don't always treat you right. Sometimes it's like they're just trying to place these kids. Sometimes it does not matter. It depends on the worker, because I've had good caseworkers, I've had bad caseworkers. I've had caseworkers who were really in it for the children. I've had caseworkers who teamed up with the foster parent and had their back because they're crying crocodile tears. Oh, I would never do anything to hurt these kids. And here's the caseworker. Oh, it's okay, I understand. She's probably just acting out and blah, blah. Like, I've heard this conversation before. And so it's like, we need to have some workers that are there for the kids, because they don't know what goes on when they leave that house. They don't know what these children have to deal with once they leave and go home to their families. It's like we're just case numbers. You know what I'm saying? And once they place the kid, it's out of their hands. They don't have to worry about the case anymore. But you just don't know what some of these children might be going through. And then it's like they need to really do some real background checks, some mental checks on these people. You know what I'm saying? Like they need to check people's mental states before they start handing people's kids over, because some children might have been better off where they came from instead of going through the hell that they went through growing up in the system. And I was definitely one of those kids that I thank God that he had his hand on me, because it's a lot that I suffered through, you know, being in the system, being in different foster homes, and I wouldn't wish it on any child. So parents out there, do your best to take care of your kids. Choose your kids first, because once that system takes over, you have no idea what your child is going to go through. You have no idea what's going to happen to your child. And they can tell you and promise you, oh, we're going to take very good care of them. Don't worry, we're going to put them in a great foster home. You don't know that. They don't look at these kids as, you know, we need to make sure that we take care of these children. And I'm not saying all of them are like that. Some of them are very good. Some of them are compassionate when it comes to the children, and they actually want to make sure that they're okay. But a lot of these caseworkers out here, they're just getting their paycheck. They don't really care too much about the kids. If everything looks okay and if the foster parent says everything is okay, then that's all that matters. But that's why a lot of children go through so much hell, because they're overlooked and people don't listen when they try to tell them what's happening to them. So that's my foster care story. I'm thankful that God allowed me and taught me how to take care of my son, so he didn't have to go through that. And it's just it's a rough life, and a lot of times you just don't feel like you have anyone. Yes, you come across some good people along the way, but it's like some children out here need to be saved from the stuff that the system put them in. They didn't put themselves there. None of them asked to be born. None of us who went through the system asked to be born. Nobody asked to be born, whether you're in the system or just not. But they shouldn't have to suffer just because their parents couldn't take care of them, or their parents died, or their parents didn't want them. There's so many different reasons why children don't have their parents today. But it's like they should do the best that they can. And I know that the system is very overcrowded. There's so many children out there who need homes. But they have to do something about when they're placing these children. I should not have had to go through 9 years of what I went through, and we have a caseworker coming to the house. We're going to a place every week to talk to a caseworker, and nobody saw what we were going through. Nobody felt like they needed to check it out. And this is another thing. When I was living with the foster mom in the other city, not the adopted one, but the one after I came out of the group homes and all of that, and she took me and my brother in, I literally told the caseworker, this woman gets drunk every night. Sometimes she leaves us in the house all night because she gets drunk and she goes out and she comes back in the morning. And I told her, I said, you need to do a pop-up visit. Because of course, if she knows when you coming, she's going to have everything all cleaned out. She's going to be sober. Everything's going to look picture perfect. And I literally told this woman, you need to come do a pop-up visit so you can see. And that's what they need to do. Sometimes y'all need to do a pop-up visit on these foster homes, especially the ones where the children are telling you, I'm not safe here. This is happening to me. This is what this person is doing to me. Do some pop-up visits on them homes, and you'll see what the real is, what's really going on. Instead of always just having scheduled visits, and people need to learn how to use their intuition. Don't just look at them as case numbers. If a child is telling you something is wrong, you need to doggone check into it to the best of your ability. Do a pop-up visit. That would help so many different kids, for them to be able to be heard. Because if I was an abusive parent and I always knew when the caseworker was coming, of course I'm gonna have my stuff together too. Oh, she's coming tomorrow at 2:00. So doggone, by 2:00 I'm gonna be looking all nice. The house gonna be smelling good. Everything's gonna be clean. I'm gonna have my smile on and, hello, how are you? Oh, thank you so much for coming. I'm so glad you care about these children enough to make sure to come check. And then when she leave, the kids getting the hell beat out of them. They need to do some pop-up visits on these foster parents. I'm just saying. I commend the ones who are taking in foster kids and doing right by them and giving them a better life. God bless you. And I'm so thankful for you parents. But for the ones who are going out here, taking advantage of these kids, getting just for the money, shame on you. And God is going to deal with you. You know, my old foster mom, the one who adopted me, she went through a lot after we left. She found out she had cancer. Even now to this day, I think she's bedridden to the point where she can't even get up and wash herself. She has to have a nurse come in and clean her and change her and all of that. And this is not nothing that I wished on her. I actually forgave this woman. I even sent her a birthday card the next year when her birthday came around, just so that she knew I didn't forget about her and I forgave her. She scribbled all over that thing and wrote void all over it and sent it back. And that really hurt my feelings, because I'm like, how are you mad at me, you wicked woman? And I'm trying to forgive you. But I still hear stories. God has ways where he allows me to hear things about this woman. Every time she crosses my mind, I pray and ask God to have mercy on her. Because these people don't know what kind of hell they're putting themselves in by mistreating God's children. The Bible says if you mistreat one of his little ones, you may as well hang a milestone around your neck and throw yourself into the ocean or into the river and drown yourself. For real. Because if he has to get you, you're going to wish you would have did it yourself. He does not play when it comes to his little ones. God loves his children. And so this woman is going through things because of what she did to us innocent children. And I pray and I ask God to have mercy on her, because I know he's angry about that. But that's where she is. He has ways where I'm able to find out, oh yeah, she's bedridden. She can't do this. And I'm like, oh Lord, please have mercy on her. Have mercy. She didn't know what she was doing. She didn't know what she was getting herself into. Have mercy on her and give her a heart to be able to ask for forgiveness and turn from her wicked ways. Like, I pray for this woman. But so you people out here that's doing wrong by these children, your day is coming. If you don't turn from your wicked ways and ask God to forgive you and do better by people, do better by these children, your day is coming. You will be judged. You will be judged. So I advise you to get it together. Turn it around while you still have time. This woman is still angry to this day about us leaving her. After all the hell she put us through. I just recently talked to somebody about her who has seen her recently. And I'm like, man, this is deep. I feel bad for her, but she still got her same wicked heart. This person said, I went to her, I had at, I don't know where they saw her at, but the person asked her, about me and my brother, and she, don't ever say those names around me. I don't ever want to hear those names. And she was going off, and then, that was the end. And I'm like, wow, this woman's wicked. But I pray for all you people out here mistreating children. I'm telling you, because you need it. You need these prayers, because if God get a hold to you, there's nothing anybody can do. Nothing. So please get it together while you have time, while you have breath in your body. Repent and ask God for forgiveness, because he sees everything you're doing. Nothing goes unnoticed. He sees everything. You think you're getting over now. Oh, you think you're getting over. But once God moves those children out of the way, he will deal with you. And I know it because I've seen him do it for me. Time and time again. Even in an abusive relationship I was in. But that's a whole nother story. When God removed me out of that abusive relationship, he dealt with that man. Because I didn't deserve it. So you better be careful messing with God's children. He will deal with you. Once he get those babies out the way. That's a promise, because I know, I've seen it. And he's still the same God today that he was yesterday. So if he did it for me, he'll do it for the other children too. All right, you guys, so this is my story. So people, please do your best to take care of your children. Put your children first. I do not wish anybody's children to get lost into the system. Because you just never know what's going to happen to them, or you never know where they're going to end up. And if you're somebody who has already lost your children, I pray for you. I pray that God blesses your children to be in a good home, and trust and believe that he's with them and he's going to take care of them no matter what situation they're in. God is going to take care of them. You just keep praying for them. I don't know what your situation is. I'm not here to judge you for losing your kids or whatever. I can't judge. I don't know your situation. But at the end of the day, pray for your children. Pray for them, and God will take care of your children just like he took care of me and my siblings. We're all alive. We're all doing good. We're all taking good care of our children, and we're blessed. We are blessed. And I pray the same for your children. All right, you guys, so this is my story. I'm going to have a book coming out pretty soon once I get together and get it all written and everything. So just look forward to it. I will definitely let you guys know when it's going to be, when it's coming out, all that great stuff. And make sure you support you guys, because this is my life. This is my story. This is real. All right. So I guess that's it, guys. I love you. I hope that this, my story has shed some light on, on you in whatever way it's meant to. Whether it helps you to take better care of your children or watch out better for your children, whether it helps you to, pray for the children who are out there. You guys, pray for these children. Pray for them. Because I know what it's like. I know exactly what it's like. In my case, it's not even the worst case. There's children out there who are going through some real stuff. My case is mild compared to what other children are going through right now. People have stories out here, and they're going to come out as testimonies, just like mine is. So pray for these children in the system, you guys, and take good care of your kids. Keep them close and love them as much as you can, because they need it and they deserve it. None of them asked to be here. You can't be angry with them. None of these kids asked to be here. So treat them well. Take care of them. That's what God wants us to do. All right, so I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I pray it was a blessing to you. Don't feel bad for me. Don't feel sad for me. This is my testimony at this point. God has brought me through. He's delivered me and he's healed me. And I'm good. I'm not shedding any tears over my past. I've learned from it, and I'm able to help others. And if you do need someone to talk to, or if you are someone who's been through the system and you have a story, share it with me. You can send me a message in Messenger or whatever you want to do. Say whatever you want to say in the comments. I'll read your comments. And I love you guys. I love you guys for just supporting me and loving me and my family. And I just want to be a blessing. So, all right, guys, it's time for me to take Princess out for a walk. She's laying here next to me. So, I will definitely be back with more videos, more good story times. And I thank you. Keep me and my family in prayer. My husband, he just had another surgery on his eye. And prayerfully, this surgery will allow him to be able to see. Even better than he did before the surgery. So I'm also going to do a video about that, so you'll get to see, or maybe just a post. I'll do a post about it, and then you'll be up to date on what's going on in that situation. So just keep us in your prayers. I thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and like, comment, and follow our Facebook page, I Married My Best Friend. All right, guys, and share this to your family and friends. You know, someone might be able to relate to this story. It might help somebody, you know what I'm saying? So share it. It's not a sad thing, it's not a bad thing. It's just, I'm an overcomer, so it's good for me. I just want to be able to share my story to help others. All right, so I love you guys. God bless you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. All right, bye bye.